Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Azam Khan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Bus rides are set to become more expensive as franchise firms apply to charge up to 20% more. The Audit Commission finds that taxpayers had to pay an extra $1 billion for a construction project in Sau Mau Ping. And at least 7 people have been killed in the latest mass shooting in the United States. All 5 franchise bus companies have applied to raise fares. The government is studying their bids, but gave no indication when it will respond. Macy Mock reports.
KMB, Longwin, City Bus, New World First Bus, and New Lantau Bus have all applied to raise fares. The Transport and Logistics Bureau said the 5 franchised bus companies are seeking fare increases of between 10 and 20%, although sources say KMB may raise fares by less than 10%. Their applications are being reviewed. KMB and Longwin bus companies said fares have to be adjusted as passenger numbers dropped during the pandemic. They also cited higher oil and labor costs. City Bus and New World First Bus say operating costs have increased. They are paying 10% more for fuel and offered a 4.5% pay rise to their employees after freezing salaries for 3 years. Last year, the government approved fare rises of between 5.8 and 12% to KMB, City Bus, New World First Bus, and New Lantau Bus. Roundtable lawmaker Michael Tian expects bus firms to continue putting up fares in the coming 5 to 10 yees as more train lines come into service. He said the government should use its MTR dividends to subsidize bus passengers. DAB lawmaker Chan Han Pan said officials should look at the rising cost of living when reviewing fare applications. People on the street were dismayed, saying the proposed increase is too high. On Monday, the government said the Star Ferry Company had requested to double its fares after recording losses since 2018. Macy Mock, HKIBC.
The Director of Audit has found that an extra $1 billion was spent on a construction project on Anderson Road in Sau Mau Ping. Part of the higher expenditure resulted from the building of a footbridge system, for which tenders opened before the design was completed. Joanna Ho reports.
Currently, there are 2 footbridges, each at Ontai Estate and Ontet Estate in Sau Mau Ping, connecting to neighboring communities in the district and Shen'an. They form a network which was substantially completed by the end of 2016 on Anderson Road. The government's original plan was to build 3 bridges. Before calling for tenders, the Civil Engineering and Development Department received suggestions from various stakeholders on the system's design, including adding another bridge. However, the department tendered the project in September 2007 before the construction design was finalized, as it aimed to meet the planned population intake target of the proposed public housing development in 2015. A contractor was awarded about $2 billion in January 2008 for several works, including the formation of land platforms and the construction of 3 footbridges. 1 year after the contract began, the Housing Department completed its traffic review study and proposed significant modifications in the design of the 3 bridges and the construction of a 4th bridge. That resulted in more than 140 variation orders, costing an extra $186 million. Under a supplementary agreement, the government paid over $70 million to accelerate the construction of 2 of the 3 bridges and settle the contractor's claims because of the extended time. Another $160 million was also paid to another contractor to build the 4th bridge. The overall expenditure of the project was over $3 billion, about $1 billion more than the amount in the original contract. The Audit Commission urged the government to finalize the design of works before inviting tenders to avoid similar cases in the future. The relevant departments agreed with the suggestions. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
The audit watchdog also called on the Transport Department to find ways to shorten the waiting time for driving tests. It found that some government driving test centers were not fully utilized. Macy Mock reports.
The Audit Commission found that the waiting time for non-commercial vehicle road tests increased significantly in the past 6 years. In one example, a person applying for a road test at the government's Hong Kong region centers in 2015 had to wait for 3 months. But last year, the waiting time was 9 months, an increase of 165%. The waiting time for candidates taking motorcycle road tests almost quadrupled from 2 months in 2015 to 8 months in 2021. The Director of Audit said the 13 centers catering to non-commercial tests were not fully utilized, with the utilization rates for 7 of them falling below 80% in 2019. The Transport Department has tried to shorten waiting time by increasing manpower in test centers, but the Commission found that it was not enough and suggested streamlining the duty reporting arrangements for driving examiners. In response, the Transport Commissioner said it will conduct a further review to improve its driving test output. It agreed with the Commission's other suggestions, including ensuring that the inspection frequency of driving training schools is met. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
The Audit Commission has suggested frequent updates on the number of street sleepers so that better use can be made of the money allocated to help them. This comes amid an increase in the number of homeless people. Katrina Lau reports.
As Hong Kong rents skyrocket, the number of street sleepers is also growing. According to the Street Sleepers Registry, the number surged from 595 in 2013 to 1,564 for the financial year that ended in March. That's a jump of 2.6 times. The Audit Commission attributed the steep increase mainly to the inability to pay rent because of unemployment. Among the registered street sleepers, about half have been homeless for more than 5 years, and more than 900 are between 50 and 69 years old. In the past year, the Social Welfare Department allocated about $30 million to 6 non-governmental organizations to support street sleepers. But the audit watchdog found discrepancies between the allocation of funds and their utilization. The NGOs did not increase the number of subvented hostel beds to accommodate the surging number of street sleepers. One reason for the disproportionate expenditure is the inaccuracy of the Street Sleepers Registry. The audit director suggested more frequent updates of records and regular reviews of the performance targets of the NGOs. The Director of Social Welfare agreed with the audit recommendations and will take necessary follow-up action. Katrina Lau, HKIBC.
Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong has tested positive for COVID. His office said he wore a mask at work yesterday, but he was seen without one when he spoke at a Hong Kong Management Association event. Wong, who has not traveled abroad recently, is currently under isolation. Earlier this week, Chief Executive John Lee was found to be infected with COVID after returning from Bangkok. A gunman has killed at least 7 people in a supermarket in the U.S. city of Chesapeake. No motive has emerged yet, but police confirmed that the attacker is among the dead. There was a heavy police presence as officers responded to a report of a shooting at a Walmart store in the U.S. state of Virginia on Tuesday night, local time. Police found several bodies, including that of the gunman, inside the premises in the city of Chesapeake. The attacker is believed to be the store manager, who opened fire, then turned the gun on himself. The exact number of casualties isn't yet known, but an officer said no more than 10 people were killed.
We located multiple fatalities and multiple injured persons. A little while later, through the course of providing treatment, we were able to establish that we believe it's a single shooter, and that single shooter is deceased at this time.
The shooting comes just days after a gunman opened fire in a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs, killing 5 people and wounding 17. Azam Khan, HKIBC. 2 explosions have rocked the Israeli city of Jerusalem, killing 1 person and injuring 22 people. The blasts occurred 30 minutes apart at a bus stop during the morning rush hour. No one has claimed responsibility for the attacks. The blasts occurred just hours after a 16-year-old Palestinian boy was shot in the chest by Israeli troops in the occupied West Bank town of Nablus. Railway workers in Britain are stepping up their demands for better treatment with a series of 48-hour strikes next month and in January.
This latest round of strikes will show how important our members are to the running of the country and will send a clear message that we want a good deal on job security, pay and conditions for our people. We have been reasonable, but it is impossible to find a negotiated settlement when the dead hand of the government is presiding over and blocking a resolution in these talks.
The Rail, Maritime and Transport Union apologized to members of the public who will be inconvenienced, but commuters were told to direct their anger at the government. The union said workers need more money to deal with soaring inflation, which is forcing many poor people to cut down on food and fuel. The Hong Kong stock market ended a 5-session losing streak today, but rising COVID infections on the mainland kept investors in check. The Hang Seng Index gained 0.6% as mainlanders traders cashed out, dumping $200 million worth of Hong Kong stocks, citing lockdown fears. Search engine giant Baidu jumped 3.4% as online advertising revenue recovered. Video sharing app Kaishu shot up 5.7% despite posting a net loss of 2.7 billion yuan for the third quarter, down from 7 billion yuan a year earlier. E-commerce rivals JD.com and Alibaba both locked in gains of more than 3%. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed at up 99.4 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tencent was up $4.60, Alibaba up $2.30. JD.com was up $6.60, Country Garden up 2 cents. Forex against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.07, the Canadian dollar is at 5.82. Over to UK, the London FTSE is up 22.25 points. Onto the weather now. Tomorrow will be mainly cloudy with some rain. Temperatures will range between 22 and 24 degrees. More of the same going into the weekend. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Azam Khan. Good night.